So you have a course you've developed in Articulate Storyline, and now you need a place to host it on the internet so that you can share a link with other people or maybe post it on your portfolio. How do you do that? Well, in this video, I'll show you exactly how to do that using Google Cloud. So stick around. Hey there folks, Tim Slade here from the eLearning Designers Academy. If you've been working to build a course in Articulate Storyline, one of the things you'll likely want to do is share the finished version of it with others by sending them a link or by putting a link on your portfolio. However, in order to do that, that means you need a place to host it on the internet, which can present a whole bunch of different challenges. But you know what? The good news is that it actually doesn't have to be a challenge because you can actually host your projects on Google Cloud, and that's what I want to show you in today's video. So we're going to be looking at three things today. First, how to publish your course out of Articulate Storyline for the web. Second, how to create a Google Cloud account. And of course, third, how to upload and share your published Storyline course from Google Cloud. Now, as we go through this, if you want to skip ahead to any particular point, feel free to use the timestamps linked down below in the description, or if I'm moving too fast for you, feel free to pause me at any time. So let's get to it with the first step, publishing your course out of Articulate Storyline for the web. Now, I'm going to jump over to Articulate Storyline here where I have a project that I've been working on for a client on the customer service process. And what I want to do is I want to publish it out and put it on my Google Cloud account. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to publish this out of Articulate Storyline for the web. So to do that, from the Home tab in the ribbon here, I'm going to select the option here on the far right for publish. And this is going to open up my publishing options window. And you'll see that there's a ton of different options here for how we can publish our course out of Storyline. We can publish it for a learning management system. If I were uploading it to an LMS, we can publish it to video. And of course, we can publish it for the web, which is what we're going to do today. However, before I talk about publishing for the web, I also should mention that you can publish to Review 360. Now, if you happen to have an Articulate 360 account, that also means you have access to Review 360, which is a really great and fantastic option for publishing and hosting your courses on the web. And although it's technically meant for giving and receiving feedback, it's another option. Again, if you have an Articulate 360 account and licensed to Articulate 360, you can actually host your courses there, which is actually much easier than what we're going to do today. But I have a whole separate video on that, which I'll link to down in the description. But we're going to assume that you don't have a Review 360 account. Maybe you're just using the trial version of Storyline and you still want to publish out your finished project, sample project, so that you can publish it on the web. Well, in that case, you want to publish for the web so that we can put it on Google Cloud. So I'll select the option here to publish for the web. And you're going to see a bunch of different options here for adjusting the player and the quality and giving it a title and a description. You really don't have to edit any of those settings. The only thing that I like to change is the publishing folder here. By default, it's going to publish to my documents folder and into a subfolder called my Articulate projects. And I always forget that I've put stuff there. So I typically like to change this and have it publish out to my desktop so that I can easily find it. So I'll select the desktop here and I suggest you do the same. And now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and click publish. And what Storyline's going to do is it's going to package all the files and publish it out. And depending on the size of your project and the speed of your computer, this might take a little bit more time. So we'll just sit here and stare at each other while it thinks about publishing out our course. All right, so that took a hot minute to publish out of Storyline, but that was the easy part. So we've successfully published our course out of Storyline. Now you're gonna see a bunch of options here. You don't need to worry about these. We're done publishing out of Storyline. So I'll click close here and I'm gonna minimize Storyline into the background. And before we jump over to Google Cloud, I wanna show you the published folder here, which I've put on my desktop. And you'll notice if I open this up, it's published all of our files into a folder. And you're going to see a bunch of stuff in here that you may not recognize. You can see that there's an XML file, there's what looks like Google Chrome files, there's some subfolders. You really don't need to know what any of that means. It's just simply all of the data and information that needs to go on the web to make your course work. So you don't want to move anything here. You don't want to delete anything here. You don't want to rename anything here. You just want to leave that as is. We're going to come back to these files here in a moment, but that's our published files. So step one is done. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to step 2, which is to create our Google Cloud account. So I'm going to go to my internet browser here. I'm using Google Chrome. And we're going to go to Google Cloud here, which is cloud.google.com. And I'm already here. And we're going to use Google Cloud to host our project files. Now, before we move forward, I should explain what Google Cloud is and what it's not. The first thing you need to know is I don't want you to confuse Google Cloud with Google Drive. They are not the same. Google Drive is a cloud storage option that you can use to store Microsoft Word files, PowerPoints, everyday files. It's just simply a storage drive in the cloud for your everyday files, right? Google Cloud, on the other hand, is an enterprise level hosting platform that's designed for hosting apps and large applications and other platforms that developers would use to create apps for your phone or other web apps. And we're going to use it to host our published Storyline files so we can share on the web, all right? Now, before we move forward, I will mention you're going to see a lot of things that are not going to make any sense to you. And it's going to confuse you and overwhelm you. And trust me, it overwhelmed me the first couple times that I've done this. And this is one of those moments where you have to kind of put up your blinders and you have to let Jesus take the wheel and know what to ignore and know what you need to pay attention to. But I'll walk you through it step by step, all right? So once you come to Google Cloud, the first thing you need to do is create an account. Now, if you already have a Google account or a Gmail, you can go ahead and sign in and use that. Otherwise, you can sign in, create an own account. But in this case, I'm already signed in here, right? I can see my profile up here. And to start using Google Cloud, I'm just going to click here to get started for free. And the first thing it's going to do is it's going to ask us to start setting up our account. It's going to ask us for some basic information. Most of this is pretty self-explanatory. Again, I'll point out what you need to really worry about and what you need to ignore. So the first thing it's going to ask us is, where's our country? Where are we located? I'm in the United States. It's automatically detected that, so I'll leave that as is. And then it's going to ask us what best describes our organization. This really doesn't matter. You can put whatever you want. I'll just say I'm a small company. And then we're going to click to agree to the terms of service. Easy peasy. Click continue. All right, so it's setting up our Google Cloud. And the next thing it's going to ask you, which might take you by surprise, is it's going to ask for payment information. Now, Google Cloud is effectively free, but you still have to put in payment information. And it's not going to charge you anything, at least for the first couple months, or 90 days, as I think is the trial period. But even after that, if you got charged anything, it's going to be like a couple of cents. All right. And let me explain why. The way Google Cloud charges for its use is based on how much data is transferred in and out of it. Now, the Google Cloud storage, what we're going to be putting things on Google Cloud, that's free. But what gets charged is how many times people access the information you put in your Google Cloud. Now, in reality, remember, Google Cloud is designed for large apps and platforms where you might have hundreds of thousands or millions of people accessing those, right? For somebody like you or me, you might have a few dozen people access your sample project per month. And if you were to get charged anything, it would be like fractions of a cent. All right, so yes, it's free, but you do have to put in your card information. And like I said, if you get charged anything, it's going to be so minimal, you wouldn't even notice it, all right? So just trust me on that. And I will link to down, if you don't want to take my word for it, I'll link to down below where you can see the pricing and the structure and how it all works. It probably won't make sense, but I promise you, it's effectively free. So I'm going to go ahead and type my name in here. It is the eLearning Designers Academy. That's my business name. And I'm going to go ahead and add my credit card information here. So I'll type in my card. I'm going to blur this out because none of you need to see that stuff. Give me one moment. Confirm my card information. It's doing it. All right. Put in my name. And then put in my billing address. Let's see if we can do that. There we go. Again, I'm keeping this blurred out because you don't need to see this information. So I've gone ahead and put in my billing information, and I'm going to click here to start my free trial. Now, it's setting up the billing, it's setting up my account, and it's going to take a moment, and we're set up. All right. Now it's going to bring us to this screen where it's going to ask us a couple more questions about why we came here, all of that stuff. You don't have to answer any of this. We'll just close it out. And then there's some more information about getting started. We'll skip that for now. And we're going to be brought to this screen. Now, when you get to this screen, that means you've set up your Google Cloud account. So technically, step 2 is done. Yay, we set up Google Cloud. Now, once you get to this screen, you're gonna be like, what the hell did I get myself into? What's APIs? What's IAM and admin? And what is Kubernetes? I have no idea what any of that means. You don't need to know what any of that means. This is where we start putting our blinders up. And again, we're gonna let Jesus take the wheel, or let me take the wheel. Just follow along with me. All right, so we did step 1, we published out of Storyline. We did step 2, which was create our Google Cloud account. Now we're gonna do step 3, which is we're gonna actually start putting stuff on Google Cloud. All right, so what we need to do is we need to find our cloud storage area of Google Cloud. And now you'll notice here on the bar here on the left, we have an option here for Google Cloud. And if I hover over that, we have a couple different options for buckets, monitoring, settings. We need to go to buckets. Now, if for any reason you don't see cloud storage over here on the left, you can come up here to the search bar and type out cloud storage and get to it, but you should see it here, and we're gonna click on buckets. Now, I already know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Tim, okay, I'm clicking on buckets, but what the hell is a bucket? You know, to be honest with you, I don't know what a bucket is. I don't know why they call it buckets. I just know that we need to create a bucket to put things in the bucket so that we can share our project with the world. So, okay, we're putting our blinders up. Now we're here at our buckets. We gotta create a bucket. Don't know what that means, but we're gonna do it, all right? So while we're here in our buckets screen, we're gonna go up here to the top and we're gonna create a bucket. And it's gonna bring us to a screen where we can name our bucket and set it up. Now, there's gonna be a lot of things here that make no sense. That's okay. We're gonna work through this together. So the first thing we need to do is we need to name our bucket. Now, you can name your bucket whatever you want. You want it to be a unique name, and you're only ever gonna have to do this once. Once you've created a bucket, you're done. So in my case, I might call this, we'll call it Tim Slade's eLearning portfolio. There we go, good. Click continue. Okay, so we've named our bucket. Now it's gonna ask us some information about the location. You don't need to worry about that, so we'll click continue. Now it's gonna ask us about storage class for our data. Do I know what that means? Nope, you don't need to know either, so we'll click continue. Now it's gonna ask us to choose how to control access to the objects we put in our bucket. Now, this one's important. We want people to be able to access what we put in our bucket. We're gonna put samples of our work, we're gonna create links, we want people to access those links. So we're going to deselect this option to enforce public access. We want people to do it, so we want to deselect it, all right? We'll click continue. Okay, choose how to protect object data. We don't need to change anything there, so we'll click create. And it's gonna start creating our bucket. Now, it might ask you to confirm that you want to turn off that public access. If so, confirm it, and then you'll be brought here. All right, so we've created a bucket to put stuff in. Now, before we move on to adding stuff to our bucket, this is where we need to do one more step to allow people to access the bucket. I know it seems like we already did that, and I thought we did, but for some reason, that makes no sense to me. We have to give it even more permission for people to access the information in our bucket. So we're here in our bucket, and we're gonna go to the permissions tab up here, okay? And this is where we can add permissions for who can access our bucket. So what we need to do is we need to grant access. So I'll select the grant access option here. And it's gonna allow us to create a rule that allows people to access the bucket. So here under add principals, why is it called principals? I have no idea. We're gonna type in all users. And you're gonna see all users listed here because we want all people on the internet to be able to access what we put in our bucket. So I'll select that. And then under assign role, we're going to find our cloud storage option here. And we're gonna select the option for storage object viewer. What that means is it's going to allow all users on the internet to view the stuff in our bucket. We don't want to use creator or admin because that means they would be able to edit the stuff in our bucket. We don't want that. So we want cloud storage, all storage viewer, and then we'll click save. All right. And then it's going to ask us to confirm. Yep, we're going to allow public access. Great, we're done with that. Now you're going to see these alerts everywhere. It's going to say public to the internet. Great, that's what we want. That's why we're doing this. We want people to be able to see what we're putting in our bucket. Okay, so that was setting up our bucket. Why is it called a bucket? Who the heck knows? But we've created our bucket. Now, if we go back to the Objects tab here, again, I'll click Dismiss here. A lot of confusing things. A lot of this doesn't make sense to me, right? It doesn't make sense to you. Just focus on what we got to focus on, okay? So we're now in the Objects tab And this is where we can now upload those files that we published out of Storyline. Now there's a couple different options here. There's upload files, upload a folder, create a folder, transfer data. In this case, we're going to upload a folder. If you remember, when we published out a Storyline, it created a folder which contained a lot of different files. We're uploading that whole folder. So we're going to upload a folder. And we're going to go find on our desktop here, our customer service philosophy. That's the project that I published out. I'll click upload. And it's going to take a few moments after I confirm here that it's going to upload. And we're going to be able to see the status here. If I can open it up. There we go. It's uploading 134 files. It's taking its time. And it'll let us know once it's done. So we'll just give it a moment here. All right, so now that it's done uploading all of our files to our bucket on Google Cloud, the last thing we have to do is create a link to our project from Google Cloud. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and click this option here to open up the folder that we just uploaded to our bucket in Google Cloud. And what we're looking for is the story.html file here. This is the thing we want to link to, which is going to make our course work for anybody who has a link to it. So to get that link, all we're going to do is scroll all the way over to the right here to where it says public to internet. We're going to copy the URL for our story.html file. So if I copy that here and go to a new tab and paste that in here and go to that link, this is our working version of our course. And like I said, if I share that link with anybody on the internet, I post it on my portfolio, I share it on LinkedIn, I send it via email, anyone can access my project here. Now, before we finish up here, I should mention, now that we've created a bucket, we don't need to create a second bucket for subsequent projects that we want to upload. If we go back to our bucket here where we uploaded the one project that I just did, we can continue to upload additional published files, projects that we want to share. I just repeat those steps that we just did to upload it, and we're done. So creating the bucket, creating your Google Cloud account was the hardest part. Now that that's done, you just have to upload additional stuff and share a link to it in the future. All right, so that's how you can publish and host an Articulate Storyline course on the web using Google Cloud. As always, I want to thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to learn more about growing your instructional design and e-learning career by focusing on skills first, make sure to click that like, subscribe, and that bell button to get alerted the next time I publish a video just like this one. And of course, join me inside the e-learning designers community with the link down in the comments to connect and learn with others who are also working to build and grow their instructional design and e-learning development skills and careers. Otherwise, my name is Tim Slade. And until next time, I'll see you around.